Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little owl keyring or hanging, whatever you want to use him for. And it's really easy to make and it's quite quick to make as well. So what you're going to need 5 different colours of yarn, and the base of the owl is going to be using a brown yarn. This is a chunky bulky weight yarn, and to complement that we're going to use an alternative colour, and I've chosen green. Again, this is a chunky bulky weight yarn. And then we just need some white for the eyes, and I've used a DK light worsted weight yarn, and a yellow or orange for the beak. Again, that's a DK light worsted weight yarn. And last but not least, you just need some tiny little bit of black. So obviously you don't need this much yarn, tiny little bit of black just for the eyes. And you're going to be using, if you want to make the same size as this, we're going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. We also need some scissors and a yarn needle, and also some toy stuffing, but I'm going to actually be using some scrap pieces of yarn for the stuffing because I've collected a vast amount of this lately. So yeah, let's begin. Okay, so to begin we're going to be starting with the colour which of your choice. In this case I've chosen green, and this is, like I said, it's a chunky bulky weight yarn. Even though we're using a smaller hook to go with it, it creates a tighter knit. So we're going to be starting with our colour, in this case the green, and this pattern is actually designed for absolute beginners, so we're not going to be working any magic circles at all. We're going to be starting with a chain 4. Okay, so first thing to do is chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into our first chain. So we want to put our hook into that first chain like so, and we're going to grab our yarn, bring that through, and then we're just going to slip stitch like so. Okay, so all we want to do now is we're going to work 6 single crochet into the loop that we've just created. So where you've chained 4 and you've slip stitched back into the first one, you should see that in the middle is a very small loop. So you've created a loop in your work, and into that little hole in the middle we're going to work 6 single crochet. So you want to put your hook through the center like so, and then we're going to grab our yarn and bring that through the loop, and then yarn over and pull through both loops to complete our single crochet. And we're going to complete 6 of those, so you want to repeat that another 5 times. So we go back through that center and grab the yarn, pull it up, and then do our single crochet stitch like so. Let's do that another 4 times. 3, 4, 5 and 6. Like so. And then what we want to do is we just want to slip stitch into our first stitch. So that's 2, 4, 5 and 6. So we just want to put our hook through that first stitch, that first single crochet like so. Just catching those 2 pieces of yarn, and just work a slip stitch like so, and that completes our first round. Okay, so what you want to do now is we're going to chain 1 like so, and what you actually want to do when you chain 1 is, because we're going to be joining the rounds at the end, so that it's easy to join the rounds, you just want to bring that loop up a little bit to make it quite loose like so, and then work your chain 1 like so. And then we're going to work a single crochet into the same stitch that you slip stitched into, so it's basically the same stitch as your chain 1. So where you slip stitched on the first round to join, I'm going to go back through that same stitch and work a single crochet. So technically we now have 2 stitches in the same stitch for an increase, our chain 1 and our single crochet. Then in the next stitch we're going to work 2 single crochet. Oops. Make sure I catch that properly. There we go. So that's 1 and 2. And you want to repeat that all the way around, so doing 2 single crochet into each stitch around. Like so, until you have 12 stitches. And the last 2, 11 and 12 in the last stitch. 11 and 12. And by the end of round 2 you should have 12 stitches. Okay. Then all you need to do is to slip stitch into your chain 1, and because we kept that quite loose it's fairly easy to see, so we just put our hook through our chain 1 like so, and then just work a slip stitch to join the round. Okay, so moving on to round 3, what we want to do is chain 1 again, and again bring up your yarn a little bit to keep it loose so it's easy to find, and work a chain 1. Then we're just going to work 2 single crochet into the next stitch. We're not going to do anything in the same stitch, we're just going to do 2 single crochet straight into the next stitch. So that's 1 and 2, and then the next stitch we're just going to do 1 single crochet by itself, like so. And then we're going to go back to doing 2 single crochet in the next stitch, so that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet by itself in the next stitch. We're just going to repeat that round, doing 2 single crochet in the next stitch, then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and until you get to the end, and then you should have 18 stitches. So 2 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And then the very last stitch should be finishing on a 2 single crochet, so an increase. So that's 17 and 18. And then all we do is we're going to slip stitch into our chain 1 to join the round. So we just put our hook through, like so, and slip stitch. And by the end of that round you should have 18 stitches. Okay, so for round 4 we're going to start exactly the same way, and we're just going to chain 1. So we're going to pull our yarn up a little bit and then do a chain 1. But this time we're just going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So you still have 18 stitches at the end of the round. So you just work 1 single crochet into each stitch around. And we're going to repeat that. We're going to do that for 3 rounds. So this is going to be round 4. We're going to do the same for round 5 and for round 6. So you're just chaining 1, working 1 single crochet into each stitch around, and then slip stitching into our chain 1 to join the round. So you're just going to do that for 3 rounds, and then still keeping 18 stitches, and then I'll come back once I've done that. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 3 rounds. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the very last stitch, and this is on round 6, so I'm just doing 1 single crochet in the last stitch. And when you actually come to slip stitch, what we're actually going to do is we're going to put our hook through, but instead of grabbing the green to slip stitch, we're going to introduce our brown yarn. And again, this is a chunky, bulky weight yarn. So all we need to do is we need to loop that over our hook, like so, and then pull that through your chain 1 instead of the green, and then just slip stitch through. So now you're working in the brown, and this is because we do this basically to join the colours evenly, so you don't have any strange evening off of the different colours. So now we're going to be working with our brown yarn. Okay, so what you want to do now is, now you're working with your brown yarn, is we're just going to chain 1 again. So just bring your yarn up a little bit to keep it loose. We'll do a chain 1 again, and we're just going to do exactly what we've been doing for the last 3 rounds. We're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch around, then slip stitch into your chain 1. We're going to do that for 3 rounds as well. So this is rounds 7, 8 and 9. They're all going to be chain 1 and then just 1 single crochet into each stitch around, and then slip stitch to join. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll come back. So just 1 single crochet. Sorry about the strange gurgling in the background as well. We've got a bit of an issue with our heating at the moment. We've got a heating engineer out to got a lot of air in our system, so we've got very gurgly radiators. So there we go. So that's 1 single crochet into each stitch around, so you still have 18 stitches. Okay, so I'm just coming to the very last stitch on, this is round 9, so we're just been doing 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we've still got 18 stitches, and all we do is we slip stitch into our chain 1 to join, like so. Like so, so it should look a little something like that. And what we're going to do now is just going to chain 1 again, so keeping it loose, it's a little bit loose, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we're going to go straight into the next stitch with a single crochet, and a single crochet in the next stitch, and a single crochet in the next stitch, like so. Then we're going to slip stitch in the next 4 stitches. So we're going to go into the next stitch, but we're going to work a slip stitch. So that's 1, and then a slip stitch in the next stitch, and then a slip stitch in the next stitch, and then a slip stitch in the next stitch. So that's just a slip stitch in the next 4 stitches. Get a bit more yarn. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet. So going back to doing single crochet, and we're going to do that in the next 5 stitches. So normal single crochet in the next stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, like so. And then we're going to do a slip stitch in the next 4 stitches again. So that's 1 slip stitch, 2 and 3 and 4 slip stitch, and then you just want to finish up with 1 single crochet in the last stitch, and then we're just going to slip stitch into that chain 1 to join the round, like so. Then what you want to do is, leaving a long tail for sewing, is fasten off. So we're going to use that to sew up the remaining gap, and also you can fasten off the green as well. Okay, then you can just tuck in the green, and then we're just going to pull up the brown, and it should look a little something like that. And as you can see, these bits here where you've single crocheted and slip stitch create little pointy ears at the end. Okay, so now let's go on to working the eyes. Okay, so for the eyes you want to get your white yarn, and this is a DK light worsted weight yarn, so it's a thinner yarn than we've used for the body. And we're going to be using the same hook, the same 3.5mm crochet hook. Okay, so we're going to start off very similar to how we did the body, and we're going to chain 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, like so. And then we're just going to slip stitch into that first chain to form a loop again, like so. And then as you can see, it creates a loop, and into that loop we need to work 10 double crochet. So we're going to do a yarn over to start a double crochet. Now we're going to put our hook through that center hole, grab our yarn, and then we're going to work our double crochet as normal. So it's yarn over, pull through first 2 loops, then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And we're going to do 10 of those. We do yarn over again and go back through that central loop to work our next double crochet. So just work 10 of those. Like so. Okay, so when you've worked 10 of those, that's our last one here. So just pull the tail end to draw those in together, and we're just going to slip stitch into our first double crochet. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 to make sure we've got 10, and then we're just going to put our hook through that first stitch and work a slip stitch like so. And then all we do is we're going to leave a little tail, fairly long tail actually, just to sew, so we can sew the eyes on. Then just pull our yarn up like so, and that creates the beginning of one of our eyes. So we're going to do 2 of these, so just repeat the exact same steps to make our second white part of our eye like so. Okay, so I'm going to do another one of those and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've just repeated that again to make our second eye, and now we're going to go and work on our beak. So for our beak we need to take our yellow or orange yarn, and again this is a DK light worsted weight yarn, and to make the beak it's very, very easy. We're going to be using exactly the same hook again, and we found the beginning of our yarn. All we need to do is to chain 4. So we just chain 1, 2, 3 and 4 like so, and we're going to work a single crochet in our second stitch from hook. Now our second stitch from hook, now the loop that's actually on the hook isn't counted as a stitch, so the first stitch would be this one down here, so our second stitch is the next one along. So we're going to go into that next stitch and we're going to work a single crochet like so, and that leaves us with 2 stitches. And then we're going to do a yarn over, and we're going to work a half double crochet in the next stitch. So that's yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through all 3 loops for a half double crochet. Then in the very last stitch we're going to work a double crochet. So we do yarn over, put our hook through, grab our yarn, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, then yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then that's our beak done. So we're going to leave a bit of a tail to sew on. Pull your yarn through like so, and then that creates our little beak like so. Okay, so the next part to work on is these little wings, and we're going to be coming back to our chunky, bulky brown yarn. and taking that colour and the same hook size 3.5mm crochet hook again, all we're going to do is we're going to chain 4. So we're going to chain, get some more yarn and just chain 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And then what you want to do is very similar to the beak. We're going to work into our second stitch from hook. So it's not this one on the hook, it's not our first one, and it's that second one there. And in that second stitch we're going to be working a slip stitch. So we're going to go into that second stitch, but this time we're going to work a slip stitch like so. And then in the next stitch we're going to work a single crochet, like so. And then in the very last stitch we're actually going to work 5 double crochets. So that's quite a lot. So we'll do a yarn over, go into the stitch, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. I'm going to do another 4 of those, so we've got 5. And as you make them, you'll find that your work begins to move around, and I'll show you what I mean. We do, that's the third one, and then the fourth one. As you can see that your project is beginning to twist round clockwise as you make these. So that's number 4, and then the last one, number 5, like that. And then you should find your original chains are now sat on the top rather than the bottom, and that's great because we need to work into these chains again. So I've done a video on this in more detail of working into your chains if you want to follow, but what you should see is the 2 chains that you've got left, and we're going to work a single crochet in the next one. Now the first chain we've already worked into because it was our last chain where we've worked the 5 double crochets. So our second chain along we're going to work a single crochet. So you can see I'm putting my hook through there. So we're going to work a single crochet in there like so. And then the very last one, which can be a little tricky to see, but your hook should naturally find it for you. If you just place your hook there and push down, you should find it naturally finds the biggest space to move through, which will be the chain. And we just want to work a slip stitch in there like so. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's all hidden in the crevice anyway. And that creates our first wing. Then we're just going to cut fairly short length, pull our yarn through, and that creates our first wing. So we're going to make 2 of these. We're just going to repeat those steps again until we've got 2 little wings. Okay, so I've just repeated that again to make 2 little wings, and all that's left to do now is get all our pieces and start sewing them onto the body. Okay, so what you want to make sure when sewing on the eyes, we're going to be sewing on the white parts first, is make sure that the ears are equal. So when you flatten it down, these slip stitches meet together like so. Okay, so we're going to take one of our white eyes, and the tail bit there we can just trim down so it fits in better like so. Then we're going to thread our tail end onto a yarn needle. And what we're going to do first is we're just going to thread our tail end to the back of our eye like so, just to neaten that edge off, and making sure to line up the slip stitches and the ears are in each corner. We're just going to take our eye like so, making sure that's at the top and our tail end's tucked in. We're going to place that to one side, and then all we need to do is go through our project, then up through the middle like so, and then we'll come back in from the inside and going into the next stitch along there. Oops. We bring our yarn through and thread our yarn back on. Sorry about all the background noise, by the way. Oh, it's a busy day today. and then we're going to go back into the previous stitch, then up through the middle like so, and then we're going to come back through and go into the next stitch along, which is here like so, and then we'll go back to the previous stitch and come up for the inside. We're just going to repeat that round, sewing into the next stitch, then back, next stitch and back, until we've got that nicely sewn on. And always check your positioning of your eyes as you sew, and then you just need to repeat that for the other side as well, threading that to the back, keeping that at the top, and sew that onto the other side using the same method, going to the next stitch, back, next stitch and back. And so I'm going to sew those on like that, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've finished sewing on the both of the white of the eyes, and what you can do with the tail ends is just stuff them on the inside, and this acts as extra stuffing as well, so you can use less stuffing. And what we're going to do now is we're going to sew the beak on. So we're going to get our little beak here, and the shorter end, which beginning of the yarn that we started with. So we're going to thread that on to our yarn needle, the shorter end, and lining it up on our little owl about there, just a little bit onto the eyes there, is we're going to thread that through to the back, just to tuck that out of the way like so, and then we're going to thread the longer tail end that we're going to sew with to the back as well. Just get that on our yarn needle and go through the other side about there. Radiator gurgling. I picked the wrong day to do this video. Like so. And then what we're going to do is a similar method to, we can tuck that tail end piece down as well. Similar method to the eyes, we're going to come back in from the back, and we're just going to sew in such a way where we come up into the beak and then sew back along to where we started, out through the inside as well, and just keep doing that along. So we then go slightly further along to the other corner, bring that through, and then we're going to sew back down to where the previous stitch was, like so. And we're just going to repeat that around until we've sewn our beak on, and that's gone really stiff. Like so. So we're just going to repeat that round, going to the next stitch and back, next stitch and back, until we've sewn our little beak on, and then we'll come back. Okay, so when you finish sewing on the beak, you can just sew, just place your tail end on the inside of your owl for stuffing, and it should look a little something like that. So all we've got left to do now is to sew on the wings. So we're going to take one of our wings, and what I'm actually going to do is the tail end piece we cut last, so I'm just going to sew that over to the other side of the wing, because this piece here comes out this side, and I just want to move the yarn over a bit so it's at the end a bit more, and it just tucks the wing into shape a little bit more. And then what we're going to do, we need to find the edge of our little owl. So this piece we've got on our yarn needle here is on the left, so that's going to be at the top. We just want to make sure it's placed about eye level. We don't want them too high up, as they look a bit strange. So we probably want to bring the top piece, tail end piece of yarn through that stitch there, like so, and then the other tail end, which is the beginning of our yarn, we're just going to sew through onto just the top of the green there, just down a little bit, like so. So bring that through. Then all we need to do is to tie those on the inside nice and tight. So we can just pop them inside out a little bit and tie these in a double knot. Nice and tight. And if you want to, you can use the remaining tail end just to sew the little wing into place a little bit more, but a double knot will make it fairly secure. And all we need to do is repeat for the other side, making sure we're going to get this tail end, the bit we cut last, just sew that through your yarn needle. I'm going to bring that over to the other side of our wing. That just tucks it all in nicely, and that this time is going to be on the bottom, it's going to be on because it's on the left. So what I'm actually going to do is making sure we sew that into the green just under the eye there. Not getting in a mess with all our tail ends on the inside. And then the beginning piece tail end is now going to be on the top, so that's going to go into the brown just tucked behind the eye there, you can see. Like so, and then all that's left to do, you can always position that when you're happy and then tie it on the inside. So I'm just going to neaten those up and then I'm going to come back. Okay. Okay, so I've just neatened those up and shoved the tail ends on the inside. So all that's left to do now is the little dots, little black dots, the pupils. So we're going to get our black yarn, and this is just a DK light worsted weight yarn, and we need to cut just a couple of short lengths like so. And then what we do is we actually work 3 knots into our yarn lengths. So we just do 1 knot, then we do a double knot on top of that one, and then we do a third one for good measure. And then what we do is take one of the tail ends and thread it onto our yarn needle and bringing our little owl back in. We want to go slightly off center of the very eye, and we're just going to thread that through to the back like so. Now we want to take the other end, thread it onto our yarn needle, and then we want to thread that, sew that through off center on the opposite side, and then bring that through like so. When you pull those tight, it creates a little pupil, and all that's left to do is bring it inside out slightly, and then we're going to double knot that on the inside, nice and tight, not too tight that you pull the knot through, but tight enough that it stays into place. But if you do 3 knots, then that should be enough to keep the yarn, the knot on the outside. And that's it, and then all we need to do is repeat that for the other side. So I'm just going to do that and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've just repeated that for the other side, and then you can just push down the tail ends on the inside for stuffing. Then all that's left to do now is to take some toy stuffing or scraps of yarn, any yarn that you like, and we're just going to fill him up. Like so. And when you're happy with him being full, all that's left to do is to sew up the top. So that's probably a little bit too much there. Just making sure not to push down our tail end piece, like so. So when you're happy, you need to be able to flatten the top like so. So you probably don't want to stuff him too much, but just enough that he's nicely plump. Okay, so you want to thread our tail end onto our yarn needle, and making sure, like I said, the slip stitches are lined up. Pull that tight, and we're just going to bring that through to that stitch this side, like so. Then we're going to go back down the same side through the next stitch, then over to the stitch on the opposite side, like so. And then we're going to go to through the next stitch, the same side at the back, that's where your yarn is, and then we're going to come through to the stitch this side, like so. And we're just going to continue that along. So then we're going to go through this stitch here, and then over to the other side, like so. And just continue that along till you get to the other end. Okay, so when you get to the end, just pop that through one more time, like so. So he's got his nice little pointy ears. Then all that's left to do is to hide our tail end. Now then, you can actually use this tail end to create the little hanging hook if you want, or you can hide this, fasten off, and then use a green yarn. But I might use a brown yarn this time. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to thread the yarn to the centre of his head, ooh, like so, without pulling too tight because we don't want to lose the pointiness of his ear. And then creating a loop like so, we're going to go down, and then we're just going to come out anywhere on his body, like so, and then make sure we've got the length that we want for his loop, like so. Then all we need to do is then work this tail end making sure not to pull tight because we don't want to lose our loop. Just bring that through. I'm just going to thread it around the body a few times. Doesn't matter where, just be careful not to pull tight, just so it hides the yarn, and then finish up. Let's come out underneath a wing, like so, and then pull the yarn needle off, and then we're just going to push the project down, like so, and then we're going to trim the remaining yarn, let our project bounce back up, and then our tail end's hidden on the inside. And there's our finished owl. There we go, and we've got a little hanging and a finished owl, so there you go. And I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and hopefully it wasn't edited too much to hide all the background noise. It's been a busy day, so really sorry about that. But yeah, a huge thank you to all my new subscribers. It's really great to have you here, and I hope you're enjoying my channel. And yeah, feel free to comment below with any suggestions on types of patterns that you want to see on my channel. Bear in mind that they have to be quite small, quick projects, because I have time constraints. But please feel free to join me in the usual social media places on facebook.com/happyberrycrochet, or my website for more free patterns at happyberry.co.uk, or my blog as well at happyberrycrochet.blogspot.com. So I'd love to see you there. Okay, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. Bye! Bye, 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 bye. Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute little bird hanging.